the elections free and fair, or are they unfree and unfair? Let me raise this word which is being used again and again, Jayaprakash, Narayan, level playing field. Do we have a level playing field? I come back to my original question. Have the ED and the IT become impact players for one side? And has therefore elections become subject to what I call the washing machine syndrome? Not me, but people across observers are calling it the washing machine syndrome. Is that something that should trouble us? We'll move away one for a moment again from bonds back to the original question. ED, IT, impact players, and the question related to it, level playing field. Do we have a level playing field in 2024? Yes or no? Or was it always like this? Whoever was in power misused agencies.
Rajdeep, certainly the timing of some of these instances is disconcerting. There's no question about it. And in a democracy, particularly on the eve of election, even the appearance of impropriety is not desirable. Not only it's not desirable, it's actually counterproductive. The reason why I'm not apocalyptic about the electoral process is all these steps, if indeed there is a perception that you are hounding the opposition, in India, typically it went against the parties that were held to be guilty by the public. So I don't think it will really work politically. But that's a part. Is our democracy robust enough to withstand some of these distortions, hopefully temporary? I believe so. Because for a functioning democracy, we require certain conditions. We are a real and robust democracy, though flawed democracy. There's no question about it. We are a flawed democracy, as America is, as many countries are. First of all, there is fierce electoral competition. It's not make-believe, it's not a shadow competition, it's a real fierce competition. Excessive competition in my view, because there is so much of a lust for positions of power in this country. The second is the political freedoms are real in this country, through the election and throughout the period between the elections. The third is there is a robust, independent judicial process, though it's ineffective and slow in general, but nobody can question its independence or robustness in the country. And therefore, you cannot merely punish them because you happen to be in power. You may harass them. There are accusations of harassment. I'll come to it in a minute. So I don't think there's cause for a sense of impending doom or a crisis.
No,
but
sir,
yes,
it's not about Jayaprakash Narayanji, I'm sorry to stop you. It's not about impending doom. It's the fear that the process has become the punishment. It always perhaps was. But as Tarlochan Shastri pointed out, there is a clear perceptible trend of a kind perhaps that we haven't seen to the scale and the brazenness of it all, where opposition leaders one by one are being picked up, even as anyone who joins the government or is an ally of the government is protected. I mean, how is that, according to you, even a side of democracy? That's not flawed democracy, that's a distorted, badly run democracy, for God's sake.
No, this is all wording.
No, it's not wording, sir. I'm sorry. I find you being very soft on the word. It's open.
As I mentioned, it is disconcerting, undesirable, and even counterproductive. But the real issue is rule of law. See, the problem is the opposition that is genuinely raising these issues should have come up with a response as to what they would do to change the way things are done. It's not about an individual's decision. It's about an independent investigative mechanism, effective mechanism, and accountable mechanism. If any one of them is missing, if you have a rogue police force like today in Telangana, there are allegations, they're using several laws to tap the telephones of many people, and certain rogue policemen are actually using it as a mafia to control people and turn to extort money. So the dangers are much bigger than a person being arrested. I don't see any robust response, constructive response to the opposition. Everybody is using it as a punching bag for elections.
That's a good,
Something bigger is
point.
happening.
So
there is no rule of law in India.
That's a good
if
point.
If only the opposition comes up with a creative response, what do you do with prosecution? What do you do with crime investigation? What do you do with procedures, with forensics, with courts, trial courts, higher courts? Nothing. Zero.
Jayaprakash Narayan, to ask you, do we need a change in rules to ensure a level playing field? The point that you said. You see, when I have BJP and Congress, they will tell me, remember what the Congress did during the emergency, or the CBI was a cage parrot when you were in power. Now the Congress will say it's an uncontrolled ED that is only targeting the opposition. Is there any space through rules, through law, to ensure a level playing field?
Rajdeep, our election commission is easily the strongest in the world for quite some time. The fear that no election commission is going to be partisan because there's no chief justice is unwarranted. For 75 years, we had elections without anybody except the Prime Minister choosing the election commissioners of all parties. There were, I don't want to name names, there were some very unsavory people, a bad track record appointed, but the commission and the country withstood that. Because there's a culture, there's a tradition, there's a public scrutiny of very high kind, and parties are very alert. So believing that somehow elections will be completely marred because of election commission's appointment is absolutely ahistorical without any evidence whatsoever. Second, we already have robust rules as far as the polling process is concerned, and the counting and declaration of result, etc. And there is a very healthy tradition in India of accepting the verdicts after the election is over. What is happening is before the election, all the rot is before the election, vote buying, distribution of liquor, and then, though constitutionally legally valid, excessive emphasis on short-term welfare at the cost of the long-term fiscal health of the country. And of course, dividing the people on caste, regional, religion lines, because that's the only way parties are able to mobilize. These are issues of political culture and electoral system, not the election commission or conduct of election.
No, but should the election, sir, the same election commission,
what happened in Chandigarh?
Sir, the same election commission, sir, which moves promptly to transfer officers, DGs, other officers. When it comes to the enforcement directorate at the moment seems to be a law unto itself. The moment a Shiv Sena candidate, Mr. Kirtikar, gets the nomination, within 1 hour a notice is sent to him in an old case. The CEO of a company which is also in the scam has shifted to the Shinde Sena, and he doesn't get a notice in the same case.
Rajdeep, you are basically hinting at a Bangladesh model, at least what was operative at one time, where the elected government will be out of place, and then there will be somebody else independently in charge. That's not desirable or possible in our democracy. We have to fix institutions instead of thinking of an unelected autocracy during time of election. In fact, when a former Chief Election Commissioner made this point, when he was Chief Election Commissioner on national television, I robustly opposed him. Because in India, time and again, the parties that were in power tended to lose elections, not win elections. Only in recent past, things have changed a little bit across the spectrum, not merely at the national level, but the state level also. So you're trying to solve a problem non-existent in India. You don't want Bangladesh solution to India's problems. We have a unique set of political challenges and opportunities. We must not borrow Bangladesh practice.
It's very interesting you mentioned Bangladesh, because Bangladesh has often seen the opposition even boycott elections in the past, claiming that they have no faith in the system. Jayaprakash, Narayan, 30 final seconds and exactly 30 seconds. If there was one place you would start to restore confidence in this whole idea of a level playing field, I emphasize that there should be a level playing field, because that's what democracy was meant to be. It doesn't mean who wins or loses. BJP can get 400 seats. That's not the question. The question is ensuring both sides have equal opportunity to woo the voter. One suggestion, 30 seconds.
Very briefly, Rajdeep, we are not dealing with black and white, good or evil. It's various shades of grey. The first step to transform the system is, can we create a framework of robust rule of law? Again, in which the first step is, there are many things to be done, it will take a long time. An independent, effective, accountable investigative system. Because if it's not accountable, trust me, mere independence, there are many countries where rogue police forces are a disaster for the country. So independent, effective, and accountable.
You have an example, global example?
You have in Australia, you have in Britain, you have in United States, and much of the United States, you have in France. Many countries have it. Many mature democracies have it.